Hi, I'm glad you could join me for another episode of WELE Football Focus. Thank you for taking time to review this video. So after months of speculation, months of uncertainty, and days of uncertainty regarding when the league was going to start, when the fixtures were going to be released, and all that talk, finally we have the fixtures in place, and thankfully we know the date that the league is going to start. The Zambian Super League for 2020 and 2021 kicks off this Saturday with a lot of exciting fixtures that have been lined up. Among those will be, Power Dynamos hosting Young Green Eagles, Quito United will be hosting Prison Leopards, Zesco United have an interesting fixture away at Napsa Stars, and a few other interesting fixtures. But beyond that, I thought it's important that from the onset we look at how the league might pan out, who the contenders are, who the stragglers will be, who the pretenders will be, and the key men for the various teams that are going to be participating in the Super League. So after last season, the Eden National League brought up 4 teams from the lower tier. That was Young Green Eagles, Prison Leopards, Quito United are making a bounce back, as well as Indian that are bouncing back after some seasons in the lower tier. And so from the onset, like any other league, basically, you're always going to find top guns, you're always going to find the underdogs. There was going to be those that are going to spring up surprises, and so I thought even in our setup we have those, and maybe it's time that we looked at them. For the stragglers, I know those that I would classify under this category might not really like me for it, but I think the statistics, the organization, the quality that they have point to how we are going to classify these, or how I'm going to classify these. So for the stragglers, for me, the first team is Young Green Eagles. Of course, there's a lot of controversy surrounding Young Green Eagles. Are they not just a feeder team for Green Eagles? Are they 2 separate clubs? And all that kind of talk. But whichever we look at it on paper, it's still well documented they're going to play in this league. For me, they are among the clubs that I expect to struggle. They are coached by Kenneth Mwanga. It's going to be his first season in the Super League as a head coach. Remember, some time back he was the goalkeeper coach at Green Eagles under the time of Justin Chinama. He's going to work in the Super League for the first time as a head coach, like I said earlier on. 2 seasons ago, they had a very good run. They even played in the Barclays Cup, I think. They came out in the quarterfinals. They couldn't make it beyond that stage, but they still did fairly well for themselves. Last season, they managed to clinch promotion now into the Super League. How much do you expect from them? I do not really expect much from them, both in terms of quality and what they are going to offer on match days. But then, football being what it is, they might spring up a few surprises here and there. But if that is going to happen, they need to make use of their home ground in Kafio and try and maximize on that patch. But I still see them that they are going to be stragglers. On the other side, Prison Leopards, they've done well. They've done a lot of investment into their squad. They let go of what would term as deadwood in inverted commas. Beyond that, they've empowered their players in so many ways, given them permanent employment in the service. I hear there was a promise of land for them, and a few other incentives that have been tabled in front of them. But then I still don't think they have the best quality really to be able to compete with the top guns. But of course, there is always a chance in football. Among the players that I'll be looking at for them is likes of James Chiwe, a former Power Dynamos player, had somewhat of a fruitful stint at Kaba Warriors until he trekked to Prison Leopards. He was one of their key men last season when they were playing in the Eden League. He contributed. He was involved in goals more than 10 times. That is both in terms of scoring and assists. And the other person that is going to be key for them is Shite Moshi. We know him from his time back at National Assembly under George Kapembo. He's one of the players that they will be looking at. The other team that I think will struggle is Quito United. Not really for a lack of quality, but the trouble that we saw them having last season could come back to haunt them. The National League, the National League could have been more forgiving. I don't think the Premier League or the Super League will be as forgiving unless they put those issues to bed, or those matters in order. They might struggle as well. Chingalika shouldn't really be a club that should be having such a discussion around, but then it is what it is. The current happenings unfortunately do not inspire much, but then with the experience of Coach Stephen Mwansa, with the experience of players like Moses Lolozi in the squad, you can expect anything really. I wish them the best, but I think they are going to struggle in this league. Moving on from the stragglers, there was going to be spoilers in any league. You find there are those teams which they're not really going to win the title. They're not really even looking for the upper reaches of the of the league. They just want to be comfortable, really. Some just want to be comfortable. Then others might think they have a lot that it takes to go and on and win, but at the end of the day, their quality kind of pegs them back. However, these teams can spoil any party on any day. These teams can be very hard nuts to crack when they are really at it. The first under this category, I think, Lomana Radiance. For a lot of seasons, they have relied on home form to remain afloat. Last season, they finished in position 14. They had amassed about 31 points. They have quite a good-looking spine right now. They have Ngeleka Katebwa in goal. They signed him from, on a free. He was previously at Nkana. They have Chris Muntali in their team. They have Msonda Siame, a former under-20 star. He's a very bright player on his day. And they have Felix Nyaende. All these are players whom they can really rely upon. But if at all they are going to get a lot of points in this league, I think Ngeleka Katebwa should be one of their key men if at all they are going to salvage something better than 14th in this season's league. The other team in this category, I think, is Kwazi, under the tutelage of Dennis Makinka. They kind of picked up last term. From the time that he picked up, they amassed generally an average of 1.18 points per game. They finished 12. I expect them to still hang around the same position this time around, but then I think under the continuity of the coach, you expect them to be a bit more solid and spoil a few parties, especially when they are going to be playing at home. The other team under this category is the New Look Built Concite. They have a lot of Zambian players now. There's a fair balance of the foreign and Zambian players. Kelvin Kaindu took over toward the end of last season, kind of stabilized the ship. Is he able to push on from where they ended? I hope they can. But if you remember last season, they only won a total of 8 games from the 27 that were played. Could they have done better? Yes, they could. Can they do better this time around? Well, that's a question that only time will answer. But I think they're also going to be among the spoilers if clubs do not really take them seriously. The other team that could be among the spoilers is Indeni. They are newly promoted, but what I like about them is that they did their business fairly early enough. They got rid of Deadwood. They got rid of players whom they thought were not really going to add a lot of value for them, and Rapid Chilufya seems to have given them a bit of direction. Of course, they did not do very well in the Charity Shield, which they lost to Nkana, but you expect that. They are fairly a newly assembled side, but they are good players whom you can look at. The likes of Graven Chitaru has been around for some time, even had a stint outside the country some time back, if I remember very well. They have Nkoko, who played at Warriors. I think he also played at Zanaco, if memory serves me right. That's a player that they could rely upon and so on. So I expect them to be spoilers, especially when they are in the matches which they are going to play from home in Ndola. On the other side, a team, potential surprisers. Here I just have one team, which is Green Buffaloes. Why am I putting them as a potential surpriser? Chiefly because you never know what kind of Buffaloes team would show up. This is a team season after season. They promise their command, or their command asked them to win the league. They have not done it. The closest they came in the recent times was qualifying for continental football. Of course, they won the league before in the 1980 or thereabout. But then lately, they've been struggling. You never know which side turns up. They'll blow hot today, they'll blow hot tomorrow. And because of those inconsistencies, you never really know what to expect from them. But I think they might bring up a potential surprise. Given the kind of results that they posted in pre-season, you saw what they did at the Big Six tournament. So there's a lot of promise from them as well. Moving on from there, I think there are some, what I would call, pretenders. Many who don't really like this team, but I mean, they are always going to be pretenders. These are teams that are probably going to make a good start, or teams that are going to flirt with the top reaches of the table, but in the long run, at the end of it all, they might not really be as high as they may promise to be. Unfortunately, I expect Nkana to be among those. Well, last season they won the league. After the 27 games, they had amassed 50 points. They were averaging about 1.85 points per game. That's why they were the best team in the land. Can they replicate that? It remains a possibility, but looking at the kind of turmoil they've had over the last course of months, the kind of difficulties they've had to deal with, I don't think they really have it. And let's not hide, I think their quality is not so good at the moment. And if you expect that kind of a team to even compete in CAF and do well as balance it up with the league, I think it might be too much to ask from them. But then the Nkana, they have a big reputation to protect. They're a big name club, anything remains possible, especially if the teams that they are going to play will give them too much respect, then they might use that to their advantage. The key man, of course, is always going to be Idris Mbombo. On any particular day, he can score goals. He can win the top goal scorers award in most of the African leagues, and he's proven that over time. Idris Mbombo will be their key man, but I think another player that I would want really people to watch closely and also watch closely personally is young Patrick Gondwe. He's a very bright player formerly of the under 20, and we saw what he did in the Charity Shield opener. He is one of the players that could be very key for this Ghana side. Another pretender would be Cabo Warriors, Tiwanda Chabi Chavala. They finished 8th last season. Could they have done better? I think they would have. They scored as much goals as they conceded. Their goal difference last season was at 0. What can they improve? I think they can improve in terms of their scoring to better their goal advantage, and because of that, if they're able to do that, they can find themselves in a better position. Keymen. Kakulibiro Machiaba is going to be a key man. He spent some time with the Zambia national team. That can only make him better, I think, playing around players of better quality and sharpen him further. The other key man for them could be Jimmy Lovo. This is a player that usually makes a slow start, but when he starts banging the goals, he can get a lot of goals, and that's one of the players that they could be relying upon. But I think they are still going to be pretenders. Can they do better than the 8th, which they finished last season? It remains a possibility, but key to that will be them finding a balance between winning matches at home as well as winning matches away from home, and ensuring, like I said earlier on, that over the course of the period of the league, they score more than they are going to allow to better their goal difference of 0 from last season. The other pretender, unfortunately, is Red Arrows. In the off-season, they've made a lot of changes. They let go of about 10 to 12 senior players. That means they've brought in a lot of young players, a lot of players that are showing a lot of promise. But then they've lost a key man, in Bruce Msakane. They've lost Bronson Chama at the back. Danny Munyao as well has moved on, and a lot of changes have taken place there. Thankfully for them, they still have their key man from last season, who was James Chamanga. He was top scorer in the league with about 14 goals. Now, the thing with Red Arrows is that inconsistency as well hurts them. There are times when they'll start very well and then not finish well. There are times that they'll start poorly and then finish well. Until they find a right balance to that, they are still always going to remain, to remain pretenders. But then, when you have the experience of James Chamanga around, when you have a young bright coach like Chisimbewe around, you expect that they can find a way of transforming their season. This is one of the clubs in Zambia that has impressed me in terms of the quality that they have in terms of backroom staff. They have a lot of bright young coaches as part of their backroom staff, and that can only mean bright ideas and a lot of possible experiments which they may want to engage in to salvage something for their club. So those are going to be, I think, what I would term as pretenders. You have Nkana, you have Cabo Warriors, and of course Red Arrows. Moving on, there was going to be teams that I think are going to have a good season. Now, by good season, I mean they may not really reach their expectations, as well as they may not really disappoint. They're just going to go through the season and still have a good season. Who are these? I think 3 of the remaining contenders that are going to be in CAF. This is the first team is Napsa Stars. Now, last season Napsa Stars finished 4th. It was a good season for them. I think they would have even done better, but then over the course of the period, especially towards the end, I don't know if it was the nerves or it was the big moments, they kind of hit a brick wall and their form dwindled a bit. Can they do better this time around? I personally do. I'm not really sure what to expect from them, chiefly because they're going to be testing new ground in CAF, and so the quality that they have and the quantity that they have is going to have to come to the fore. What impressed me about them in the transfer window is that they did their business early enough. The second thing that impressed me is I think they strengthened in the areas where they needed strengthening. Their key man obviously is going to be Collins Kombe. He's on fire for the national team. You expect him to do the same for the club. He's been a talisman over the last few years. Another key person for them is Bono Mwape. I think if they can keep him fit, then they should be able to get goals from him. They signed Ochieno from Kenya. He was a top scorer there. He's able to translate what he did in Kenya to Zambian football. We'll wait and see. They also have Emmanuel Mayuka. It's going to be interesting to see what he brings, having had a full pre-season with them. Let's see what he's going to bring to the party. But I think they are just going to be one of those clubs that are going to have a good season. Are they able to do better than they did last time around? I do not think so, but hey, they might prove me wrong. Let's see how it happens. Forest Rangers, they finished second last season. They had an equal amount of points with Nkana, who won the league on 50 points, but their goal difference was a problem, and that tells you exactly where they have to work on. They only scored 32 goals from the 27 matches that were played last season. Key man, Zikiru Adams is always going to be a key man for that team, and I think for me, Tenan Chilumba, the coach, is going to be a key man in how he's going to motivate his lads. We saw towards the end of the season, when it mattered most, in the matches which could have defined their season and made them champions, they kind of faltered, and until they find a way to get over that, until their mental psyche is in the correct shape to be able to get over those lines, and they might struggle as well. The other thing for me that will be key for Forest is how they perform in the CAF Champions League. Now, if they suffer so much in the CAF Champions League, then it might affect their form domestically. If they do well, it might propel them domestically. So wait and see. But that is I think an interesting dynamic to look at in terms of Forest Rangers. The other team that I expect to have a good season, not really the best season, not really the most brilliant of seasons, but go along and do fairly well, do what they can within their power, is Green Eagles. Now, Green Eagles have lost two key players, that is the goalkeeper, Sebastian Mwangi, and an attacker, a midfielder, a winger in Spencer South. Both have been very key for them over the last 2 or 3 seasons that they've managed to qualify for CAF football. Now, you do not let go of your key players at a time like this. They are going to be engaged in CAF. They have a league season to worry about. Are they going to cope without those two players? Obviously, they are going to cope, the other, but do they have the right quality to step up and do exactly what those players will have brought, or even do better? I am not really sure, and because of that, I think they're just going to have a good season. They are still going to finish in the top half of the table, regardless of what happens. But if they're going to break into the top 2 or top 3, it's really going to be a surprise for me. I did not really think I would find myself saying this for a club like Green Eagles, because you expect that over time they're going to keep improving from one level on to another. But then it is what it is. Beyond that, the contenders, it's an interesting section, really. This is the 3rd season actually that I'm predicting that Lusaka Dynamos are going to be among the contenders. And true to it, in the 2 seasons ago, they should have finished in the top 4. But of course, we know what happened. They got a points deduction from FIFA because of disputes with former players. Last season, they lost form when it kind of mattered most. They lost their last 2 games in the season after having had a very, very good run. Can they be able to find a solution to that? I think it is possible. The key man for me, or the key people for me in this Lusaka Dynamos team, forget the players. It's just going to be about what the technical bench is going to do, because there's just a ceiling which they seem to have reached, but they need to find a way of breaking through that ceiling and get better results. They have what it takes, absolutely yes, and because of that, I think they are going to be among the contenders. They do not have any CAF commitments. I believe they've sorted out all their player issues in terms of contracts and matters of that sort. Those are things that have pegged them back over the years, and as well as not winning when it matters the most. So the technical bench there has a very big job to do to ensure that they finish better than 9th, which they finished last season. The bench is going to be very key for them if at all they are going to salvage something worthwhile from this campaign. But if all goes well, I think they should be taken seriously as to be among the contenders. The other contender for me is Zanaco Football Club. Last season they started, their form was pretty bad, hot and cold. At the end of it all, they finished 7th. They had a decent run in the CAF games. It's going to be the first full season for Chris Kaunda. They did their business quite early enough. One of the issues that they've had over the season is the goalkeeping department. They signed Lukong from Indiana. He seems to be a good goalkeeper. Yes, they did not really do very well in the preseason tournament, which was dubbed the Big Six, but then it was just preseason. I'm sure from the mistakes that were observed then, or from the issues that were observed, they would have done a lot to correct those things and be able to go one step better this time around. Are they able to get back into CAF? Yes. Are they able to fight for the title? Oh yes, because they do not have any CAF engagements or any other extras of that sort, and because of that, I think it puts them in a very good position to be able to challenge for the league title and be able to do better than the 7th which they finished. Baba Basile is going to be a key man for them. He was a key man at Lusaka Dynamos whilst he was there. He left, moved to Zanapo. I think he's still going to be a very key man there. In pre-season, he has shown what he's able to bring to the table. Are they able to get the best out of him? Yes, they can. Added with the experience of the players around him, like, Roger Kola, Sambalongo, William Njovu, and, the exuberance of youth in the likes of Kelvin Kapombo, Gibson, Kamanga, Albert Kangwanda, who they recently got from Kafua Celtic. They really look like a good team, and with Chris Kaunda, you can expect anything. The other contender is Zesco United. Zesco United, pretty interesting. It's the first time that they finished outside the top 4 in a long time. From the time that they started playing CAF football, I don't think they've really missed out. It's kind of new, old territory for them. They have to find their way back to the top. Are they able to do that? I think they are trying to, and from the kind of business that they've conducted in the transfer window, from the coaching change that was made in bringing Numba Mwamba and bringing players like Kelvin Mwanga, Kampamba, Lazarus, whom they got from the northwest, they seem to be a good bunch, as well as the striker that Molinga, the striker that played in Tanzania recently. Are they able to push on? Yes, they can, and the fact that they're not going to be playing in CAF, for me, puts them in a very good position. The issue that picked them back last year is that I think they had too many draws. If they can find a way of converting those 1 points, which they get into a game to 2 or 3 points, that is by winning matches, I think they're going to win the league once more. For me, this is a team that looks very likely to win the league. They have a coach that has done it before. They have players that are bruised and are willing, are so much trying to get over last season. They can only get over last season if they post better results this time around. They are a hungry team, and a hungry man, an angry man is one that is hard to deal with. So this are going to be among the contenders. Dark horses, the only team that I haven't talked about, Power Dynamos. Under Perry Mutapa, they've been a very good team, solid. The football that they've played has been impressive. They've gone through the phases of play. They've built up from the back. They've consolidated in the middle. They've penetrated into the final third with relative ease. They've had bright games. They've had this surprise element about them, using a space interpreter. They've had this surprise element about them, playing with flying fullbacks, playing with 3 in the middle, 4 at times. A good mix between a short passing game and a few diagonals here and there. This is a side that has confused a lot of teams over time. If they can get it right, if they can manage their injuries well, if they can manage their games very well and continue from where they left off last season, they are really going to give teams a hard time. And for me, they are a dark horse. This is a team that has a very, very good chance of winning the league. It remains a very interesting league, really, to look forward to. I know these are just predictions, backed by statistics, backed by facts that we all know, but then all these things can be turned over, and that's the beauty about football. Tables can be turned at any time. It's chiefly about, who wants it the most. It's about who has the durability to go over the line. It's about who has the ability to adapt to the demands of the game as and when certain things are demanded. It's about one that is able to, a team that is able to take the pressure and be able to perform under that pressure. And so surprises still remain a possibility in this game and in this league. This league will not really be any different. And so, like I said earlier on, I think we are all excited, looking forward to the games to start. Saturday can't come any sooner, really. A lot of spills, thrills are expected. A lot of excitement is expected. But at the end of the day, it's about that one who want it the most. I wish all the best to every team. I wish all teams can take their chances as and when they arise and be able to give us the best that they can. This is the league that we want to watch. It is back after months of speculation, and all I can say is let the games begin. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, bye bye.